This picture is going viral with Bria Hartley with the sinister grin, right? This malevolent look that's on her face right now.
It look like Bria Hartley just got instant karma, bro. She out for the season. I'm here to tell you the most dirtiest player in the WNBA. Yeah, man, Bria Hartley. So Connecticut PR has released a statement. Bria Hartley is to miss the remainder of the season. She's out for the season. Yes, you heard me correctly.
It looks like Bria Hartley just got hit with the kind of instant karma you couldn't script even if you tried, because the same player fans were calling the dirtiest in the WNBA is now officially done for the season. And the irony is wild. After taking Sophie Cunningham out with a hit that had everyone convinced it was dirty, Hartley herself is out with a season-ending knee injury, and the timing has fans saying, this isn't coincidence. This is karma striking back fast. With social media exploding, debates raging about intent, and one photo of her smirk spreading like wildfire. So the question everyone's asking right now is simple. Was this just bad luck, or did the basketball gods step in to deliver some justice of their own? The play that set this whole storm off didn't look clean from the start. Sophie Cunningham absorbed the brunt of the contact, hit the floor hard, and instantly clutched her knee. No bounce back, no attempt to get up. Trainers sprinted in, teammates surrounded her, and the entire arena went from loud energy to stunned silence in seconds. But what turned an injury into a full-blown controversy wasn't just Sophie lying there in pain. It was the image cameras caught right after Bria Hartley with that grin, that smirk, that look people couldn't unsee. And once it hit social media, the narrative flipped immediately. Fans weren't debating if the collision was an accident anymore. They were convinced intent was written all over her face. What fueled the outrage even more was how fast that photo spread. Within minutes, it was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and fans weren't just angry about Sophie's injury. They were dissecting Hartley's expression frame by frame, saying no player reacts like that if it's an accident. The grin became evidence, the smirk became Exhibit A, and suddenly this wasn't just about one play, it was about her reputation. Because people remembered this wasn't the first time Hartley had been accused of crossing the line. So instead of shrugging it off as a bad look, fans locked her in as the league's dirtiest player, and the calls for accountability grew louder with every repost, every comment, every headline. Commentators jumped in fast, labeling it the dirtiest play of the season. Headlines blasted her name, fans flooded comment sections demanding punishment, and the referees took just as much heat as Hartley for swallowing their whistles. Because instead of protecting Sophie, they let the moment slide, and that's what lit the fire. People were sick of seeing players fined for criticizing refs faster than players who actually put others at risk, and the smirk only made it worse. It wasn't just about Sophie going down, it was about the league looking soft, Hartley walking away with zero consequences, and fans screaming that the WNBA had once again failed to protect its athletes. By this point, fans weren't just calling it an accident gone wrong. They were stacking receipts, pulling up clips from earlier in the season where Hartley tangled with Angel Reese in a rebound and yanked her hair, where Rebecca Allen caught a shove that looked anything but clean, and those moments suddenly resurfaced like a highlight reel of dirty plays, proof that Sophie Cunningham wasn't the first and wouldn't be the last. So when people saw Sophie clutching her knee and Hartley smirking, it felt like the final straw, the moment that turned whispers into certainty that Bria Hartley wasn't unlucky, she was reckless, and the league had been looking the other way for far too long. Fans didn't hold back, blasting Hartley across social media, saying, if it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, then it's a duck, calling her the undisputed dirtiest player in the WNBA, winning that ugly trophy without competition. And what made it sting even more was how the league seemed silent, no suspension, no fine, nothing, while Sophie Cunningham sat in the locker room with a torn MCL, and the Fever were left without one of their toughest players. And that double standard became the story, the perception that the WNBA would rather punish words than punish actions, letting Hartley's behavior slide while silencing the very players begging for protection. The outrage only grew louder when Sophie's own family stepped in. Her sister Lindsay and her mother Paula spoke out publicly, blasting the WNBA for ignoring player safety, while slapping Sophie with fines earlier in the season for daring to criticize refs, and fans instantly rallied behind them, saying it proved what they'd been feeling all along, that the league was more worried about silencing voices than stopping dangerous plays. And when you add that Hartley had already built a history of flare-ups and dirty moments, the frustration boiled over into one message that echoed everywhere. If the officials won't protect the players, then who will? By now, it wasn't just fans raising their voices. Sophie's own family entered the fight, her sister Lindsay firing off that maybe the league should focus less on fining players for comments and more on hiring refs who can actually protect athletes, while her mother Paula went even harder, calling Hartley a disgruntled player out of control and flat out mean, and those words hit like gasoline on a fire because they echoed exactly what Fever fans had been shouting for weeks, that the WNBA had turned a blind eye, that officials were inconsistent, that the league had time to hand Sophie fines but no time to stop reckless hits. And if her family was saying it publicly, then the frustration wasn't just noise anymore, it was undeniable truth. Just when fans were demanding suspension and expecting the league to finally act, the story flipped on its head because before the WNBA could even announce a ruling, the Connecticut Sun dropped a bombshell. Bria Hartley was out for the season with a torn meniscus, injured during practice, and the timing was so unreal, people immediately called it karma. The same player who took Sophie Cunningham off the floor with a knee injury was now sidelined with one of her own. And social media went crazy, some fans celebrating it as poetic justice, others calling it the basketball gods stepping in. And suddenly the conversation wasn't about what punishment the league would hand out. It was about how fast the universe handled it instead. What made the twist even bigger was the contrast in how both players handled it, because while fans were roasting Hartley and calling her injury instant payback, Sophie Cunningham showed nothing but grace, refusing to throw Hartley under the bus, even telling people she didn't believe there was malicious intent and still considered her a friend, and that dignity only boosted Sophie's image, painting her as the tough competitor who kept her class while the supposed villain was forced out of the season. And when you stack that with Sophie's fiery F around and find out tweet aimed at critics, fans got the full picture. This was a player who could be humble on her podcast, defiant on social media, and inspiring in the locker room, turning a devastating injury into proof of just how strong and respected she really is. Bria Hartley's season-ending injury grabbed headlines, but when the dust settles, this story isn't really about her, it's about Sophie Cunningham, because even after being targeted, even after being left with a torn MCL and a long road to recovery, she's the one who walked away with her reputation stronger, her fan base louder, and her respect across the league undeniable. She showed the toughness to take the hit, the honesty to speak with grace, and the fire to clap back when her family was disrespected. And that combination is what turns a player into a leader. Meanwhile, the Fever refused to fold. Kelsey Mitchell erupted with 38 points and reminded everyone she's one of the league's deadliest scorers. Lexie Hull stepped into a leadership role, holding the team together. Aaliyah Boston kept battling inside, and every game they played screamed resilience. Now the whispers about Caitlin Clark's return grow louder, and the thought of her rejoining a roster, already hardened by adversity, could flip the playoff picture on its head. So, while Hartley is remembered for a smirk that went viral and a season cut short, Sophie Cunningham will be remembered for turning pain into fuel and proving once again why Indiana is a team nobody should underestimate. The league may have failed to protect her, but in the end, the Fever didn't need saving. They're writing their own comeback story. And if you're rooting for Sophie, then drop a message of support down in the comments, because her fight is far from over. It's only just beginning. Bria Hartley's injury may have made the headlines, but let's be clear, this story was never really about her. It's about Sophie Cunningham, because even after taking one of the hardest hits of her career, even after being carried off the court and ruled out for the season, Sophie is the one who comes out of this with her legacy stronger than ever. Fans rallying behind her, her family standing tall in her defense, and her name being spoken with even more respect across the league. She took what could have been a crushing moment and flipped it into proof of her resilience, her heart, and her ability to rise above chaos. And that's what separates true competitors from everyone else. While Hartley will be remembered for a viral smirk and a season-ending knee injury that fans call karma, Sophie is remembered for grace under pressure, for firing back with her now iconic F around and find out response, for showing dignity on her podcast while refusing to let bitterness define her, and for staying focused on recovery in the future when most would have just crumbled. She became both the fighter and the role model in the same moment, proving she can carry herself with class while still refusing to be anyone's victim. And while Sophie battles through rehab, the Fever are writing their own story on the court. Kelsey Mitchell dropping 38-inch, a statement game that lit up the league. Lexie Hull stepping up as a leader and proving she can keep a team united through storm after storm. Aaliyah Boston refusing to back down in the paint and showing the kind of toughness you can build a franchise around. This team is no stranger to adversity, but instead of breaking, they've grown harder, sharper, hungrier. Now, the countdown to Caitlin Clark's return hangs over everything, and fans know the second she steps back on the floor, the entire playoff picture changes. Indiana, a team already fueled by setbacks, could become the most dangerous sleeper in the league, a squad nobody wants to face when it matters most. So when history looks back at this season, Hartley will be a footnote, another player whose reputation caught up to her, but Sophie Cunningham will be the headline, the player who turned injury into inspiration, the heart of a Fever team that refuses to die, and the example of why toughness isn't about how many hits you can deliver, it's about how many you can take and still keep standing. The league may have failed to protect her, the refs may have looked away, but none of that mattered, because Sophie's legacy is bigger than any call, any fine, any dirty play. She's the one fans will remember, the one her teammates will rally around, and the one the WNBA will regret not protecting sooner, because she's not finished, not even close. This is only the beginning of a comeback story that might define not just her season, but her entire career.